Right.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to the Town of Cedar Lake Stormwater Board meeting on July 8th, 2025. If you will please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Wendy, can you lead us in a roll call, please?
Ryan Lusek,
Here.
Robert Grosick,
Yes.
Benji Kinchlow,
Yes.
Luke Sherry,
Here.
David Oshton, Ben Eldridge, Julie Rivera, here, Wendy Schmidtke, here, Tim Kubiak.
All right. A review of the minutes from our last meeting on June 8th, June 10th? June 10th. Was there any questions or things that need to be discussed? Or would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 10th, 2025.
I'll second that motion.
Ryan Lusek,
Yes.
Robert Grosick,
Yes.
Benji Kinchlow.
Yes. All right. We have a claims fund for fund number 650 to the amount of $18,383.63. Was there any items to review or discuss regarding the approval of fund number 650? If not, would someone like to make a motion to approve the funds?
I'll make a motion to approve fund number 650 for the amount of $18,383.63.
And I will second that motion.
Ryan Lusek,
Yes.
Robert Grosick,
Yes.
Benji Kinchlow.
Yes.
All right, we have another funds claim for fund number 656. This is for the Huntington National Bank annual admin fee for $500. Any discussion or review? If not, would one of you gentlemen like to make a motion to approve those funds?
I'll make a motion to approve the funds for Huntington National Bank in an amount of $500.
I'll second.
Ryan Lusek,
Yes.
Robert Grosick,
Yes.
Benji Kinchlow.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to update items, we have the Justin Latz property at 7320 West 140th Place. Any updates or things that have been going on since the last meeting?
No update from me. I thought this was one that, I know there's some easement, acquisition that was needed, and I thought that the ball was in the town attorney's court. I have not heard anything since.
I gave those, that to Dave Austin, with an agenda and marked that and told him we needed that taken care of, so we'll
This
see
is
what
the
happens.
same one that the lady came forward, right? And said she owned it.
Yeah.
Yeah, last time I remember it was in Austin.
Yeah, that's what I have, still waiting on the easements from Austin. So keep that on update items. Moving on to 12806 Marsh Landing Parkway. Nothing, okay.
Nothing on this one.
All right, let's keep that on updates items. Moving on to item C, Chris Warnoff, 10708 West 133rd Place.
I know we talked about this at the last meeting, and Bob, you gave me the contact info for the person at CSX Railroad.
North Fork.
Yeah, and I did shoot them an email with the location map, because I know there's some culverts in this location that are blocked and causing some drainage issues. I didn't receive a response yet, which not overly surprising, but, I'll keep on them, pester them, to see if we can get some.
That card did have a phone number on it too, right?
Yeah, you know, I could give him a call too.
Yeah.
I think he's based out of Georgia now, so I don't know.
Atlanta, I think, yeah.
But, yeah, I can keep pestering him.
Okay.
Yep, just need permission to access their land. Moving on to item D, Sleepy Hollow ditch cleanup. I know Tim from last meeting, Tim said they're still working, need to spray regarding the vegetation overgrowth.
That's in the basin, correct, because they were cutting back there? Off of Parish, just west of Parish, south of 137.
See.
Just northward and looking. right
Don't know if
there,
they've been
right
out
in
there
that area.
much
Yeah.
in the last month.
There was some kind of weed growing in there?
Yeah, I
when
think
they cut?
I think this is the area he was
Mhm.
talking about.
So that's not technically the ditch.
It's just in the drainage area to the ditch, I think.
What about the ditch that flows behind those homes?
This one here.
No, go up more. See where the little thing comes down on the white? Your arrow to the right. Keep going. Right in those homes there.
This?
Yes. Where is it? Right where your arrow was there.
This is right on
That's the main ditch, correct?
Right.
And that basin flows to that area.
this basin you're talking?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm talking up north of that. That's pretty solidly packed in there. Is it a home? No, where you work? See that home that's right up there? That ditch that follows, where it
This
curves, to the
This
other
one?
side, yes, see that home? I'll go down a little bit, and that's the ditch there,
Right.
that's Sleepy Hollow there. That whole area is really bad, and that's why I made a comment to possibly do that before it gets overgrown with homes back there, to try and get that done if possible. Because that, of course, flows behind Beacon Point East and then down Lauer, and it takes quite a few other. But that area there looks, I think it looks pretty bad myself.
Wendy, could you check with Tim about that?
I'm texting him right now, actually, because he forgot about it. He doesn't have an update on this. I can check with him. I know the guys, I don't think they've been out there much. They've been doing a lot of culverts and streets and proof rolls in the last couple of weeks. But I will definitely have him check into that.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to Public Works projects with 2024 project ranking. We have the Monastery Woods project at 10026 West 128th Avenue.
We did call in locates for that, and we're hoping to get that done this month. So that's been located, it's just a matter of getting out there.
Good deal.
And he said Sleepy Hollow, we're probably gonna get to in the fall.
All right, moving on to item B, Dewey Street lateral, 14616 Dewey Street.
I don't think we have an update on that one.
Okay. Let's check my notes. All right, keep that on there. And then additional projects with 2024 project ranking. We have the Woods of Cedar Creek. Let's hear some good news.
So the contractor actually today poured that last remaining square of sidewalk. Outside of that, there just needs to be some minor peripheral landscaping, just some sod around that. And then he'll get his paperwork in order and presumably will be teed up for the August meeting to get this closed out.
For Dewey Street, we're still waiting on Tom Frick.
10-4. Is it happening? Does he want to do it? Does he not want to do it?
Last I heard
Is he
it.
building anything?
Last I remember, he was applying for a permit, and he was gonna have to do it when he built, so I don't know what the status is with that.
He's also in here on the unsafe building too.
All right, so keep those on there, and thanks for the Woods of Cedar Creek update, Lou. Moving on to the Woodland Shores Storm Sewer Improvement, Hines, formerly Becker property.
He says they're still waiting on the easements last he heard.
And Dave said he didn't know that nobody had asked him to do easements on that one. So I gave him back to
You gave it to
Dave Austin.
Dave, okay.
Yeah, that's what I have in my notes as well. Okay, moving on to the Schubert Dodge Street Storm Sewer System.
Yeah, this is one that we're working on. We're just about getting there for a preliminary plan. And then obviously we'll develop a cost that goes along with that plan. We're not quite there yet, but definitely by the August meeting, we'll have a plan and some costs for, to present to this group. So it's moving along.
10-4. All right, moving on to new business. New business. Anything on the magic cell phone?
I told him, stay tuned.
All right. Anything you want to add, Robert?
I just figured we'll wait till public comment and add it with that possibly.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, so public comment, please, if you want to speak, please come to the podium, name and address.
Hi,
Hi.
my name is Alice, last name Downey, Doughgney. I live at 14608 Lee Street in the South Shore subdivision. I come tonight as our community is a little concerned regarding some of the stormwater runoff that we've been getting, and this has happened over time. It didn't happen in the last year or two. It's really been happening over time regarding our lakefront property and how it's deteriorating because of that stormwater runoff. So we're losing sidewalks. Water comes down Dewey Street and just completely washes over the park and, the beach area, and when we had the streets put in, I don't know how long ago that was, 6 years, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, they put a new, they, meaning you guys, the town, put a new culvert in, like, at the end of the park near Bugaboo's, you know, the culvert pipe where it drained off, and then there was also one at the completely other end of the park. We're having a lot of trouble in, right, kinda in the middle, where it comes down Dewey, and like I said, just kinda rushes over, everything. And we've noticed a lot of deterioration. It's happened slowly over time. Don't know how the town can help. We're hoping that, someone could come out so we can kinda show that person, whoever it is, what we're, you know, what problems we're having. I mean, if you pass it, you know it's a beautiful park, but we're getting some, I don't know if you could say infrastructure, but like kind of underground stuff that's starting to happen where, you know, our sidewalks are getting washed out. Everything underneath it's getting washed out. It's buckling. And I know this would be a continuing problem. So that's it. If we could have someone, like I said, if we could set up a meeting, maybe someone can come out during the day, just so they can report back to you guys. Because I'm not an engineer, and I don't know if there's anything that can be done, but, you know, it has been an ongoing problem. Okay?
Can you just bring up the property for us, geographically challenged people?
I can, and before you walk away, I'll get your phone number.
Sure.
And we'll contact you. Tim will check it out tomorrow.
Okay. I'd love to have, we'd love to speak to Tim if he comes out, so we can kind of say, look here, then he can get in the park, because the parks are closed.
Okay.
It's, go all the way south, like you're going further south. Okay, right, so you see, we're the whole lakefront there. If you look at the right, where South Shore is, yep, the long pier, that's our pier, and those two piers are ours. So if you look at Dewey, we got Lee here, and then Dewey is right here, where you see the little beach. That's Klein and Dewey. Yep, see the beach? It's in that general area where the playground used to be, the sidewalks there, in that area, and we're seeing it the most.
Where's the culvert that you're talking about on both
You
sides?
see one there by the shed, you can almost see that there's a line, see, nope, to the right a little.
This guy?
That there, you guys put in, you can even tell the grass is a little different.
Yeah.
And then there's one all the way to the, if you keep going, because we have a lot of property. Almost to Lawton's property. Okay, stop at it's, Bob, do you know where that one is?
It's right about where he's at.
Right about where you're at.
In fact, I'm not sure that isn't right where it's at.
Maybe down a little, I'm not sure, but it's, our property line is like right where 145th turns into Lakeshore Drive. There's a fence there.
So basically.
So those are the two that we feel are functional. The third one
Sounds like
that
there's some on either
was
side.
there is not even usable and was not replaced during any of the street road construction.
But it's still there.
It's collapsed. It looks like it might be
It's
collapsed.
gone. It was a 16-inch corrugated pipe, and I couldn't figure out, we brought all new pipe and brought gutters and everything all the way down to there, ran it underneath the street, and then really had nowhere to go for it for the whole middle of this park. And I couldn't figure out, I'm going, why is the water it's not going from here? And I pushed down on the pipe, and even 1 foot in on a 40-foot run, 1 foot in, it's already collapsed. And so it's not taking that away, and I was like, why would they do millions of dollars worth of work and forget to replace the last piece of it? But the problem was we had a playground over the top of that. And they didn't replace that because we had a playground that they couldn't get to possibly, or we never grasped. So there was a playground on top of there, that playground is gone now. So it's just a matter, this isn't a huge thing, it's a matter of replacing a 16-inch, 50-foot right-of-way, a 16-inch corrugated pipe, 50-foot long, not deep, it's not rocket science, but it wasn't done, I firmly believe, and somebody brought that up this week, and I'm like, that's genius, that's exactly what happened. So what's happening, that water is all backing up there, it's even going underground now, underneath our concrete, and we've got tunnels underneath there. I could reach in, I took a tape measure, or I took a rake, and I could push the rake all the way in underneath our concrete where it's become a cave underneath there. And suddenly the sidewalk has dropped down 6 inches, and everything's starting to, underneath there, I don't know what it looks like, but this water not going away, it's finding a way to the lake.
It's just finding its own way, you know, there's no.
When was
And
that?
Dewey is on a bigger hill than it seems like the rest of the subdivision. So Dewey Street kind of comes down, not steep, but steeper than the other streets.
It takes a lot of water.
Right, and so even Lee Street, there's a slant, but it's not a direct slant, you know, into.
So there are storm sewers in the street.
Oh, I don't know that.
Are there storm sewers on Dewey?
I
Yes.
think so, yes, yes, because I have a sewer in front of my house, I'm on Lee. So there is a sewer in front of my house on Lee. I don't know exactly where they're placed on Dewey
And you have a lot of trees.
in the neighborhood.
So what happens?
Oh, down to Mark Cloud Trust Day.
They go in that basin,
You mean the sewers are clogged?
possibly.
Maybe.
I'm just gonna throw that out there, it's a first option, I would think.
It's very true, but the sewers are bringing it to us. We don't have a problem with that. It's just they have nowhere to go once they get to us. You can bring it all you want, them being clogged would help us right now. It would slow down the pace of it coming down,
Oh, in the
coming
park.
down Dewey.
Comes
In
down
the
like a
park, you're
river.
saying, okay.
Yeah, on
You got 16-inch tubes coming underneath the street there that bring it to our park. And it goes, what am I supposed to do with this?
Right, but those
You
leaves after
really
a while.
need to get his name and address.
Yeah.
Those leaves after
I
a
was
while will
thinking-
form a ball, and as they keep packed in there,
I understand that.
even though you're cleaning it here, it's gonna block it.
That's all very true, but we don't have that problem. We have no pipe. So you
Okay.
don't have to worry about getting it clogged. There's nothing to clog. There is no pipe anymore.
And I
It's
think,
completely packed.
if Mr. Kubiak was here, he'd say he'd go out and check it.
I'm a little hard of hearing this.
He did say he was gonna go out and check
Okay.
it.
Okay, I would.
Yeah,
I think
I'll
we
get
have
your
my
number.
number already, thank you.
And Bob, can you state your name, full name and address, please?
Come on.
This is Bob Van Ramshorst, 14507 Lakeshore Drive.
Thank you.
He's kind of our park keeper, the keeper of the park.
The beach to the heart?
I didn't step back when everybody.
Just write it down. Just write it down at the bottom.
Mine, so I put it by my name. or-
No, just write it down.
If I can get a day's notice, I would meet him out there also.
Okay. Are you available tomorrow if he runs out there?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think I have your number, so I'll
I'll
give
give
it
it
to
to you,
you.
sure.
and you guys-
No problem.
Or he's
He's
probably
got my
talked to you.
number. Oh,
He's got your number,
absolutely,
then that's fine, I'll talk to him.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Aaron Seacos, 13660 Muir Street. Just was hoping to get an update on some of the stormwater issues. Tim has been pretty good with keeping me updated of what's going on. Luke, I don't know if the builder has presented any plan with that, or you're still familiar with the...
Yeah, my understanding is that home, for it to be developed, they need to come up with a plan to stabilize, is this the one with the ravine, that's all?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I think what needs to happen is, as part of that building permit, they need to provide basically a stabilization plan to basically armor that ravine to make sure that gets corrected and isn't gonna encroach further, keep incising, and obviously put in jeopardy the homes in that area. So I think that's a condition of that, permit. I have not seen any plan, but that's really for that applicant to do and for us to review, obviously.
So you mean by stabilized, does that mean like shore the ditch up and stabilize the property for a house, or to do what was previously presented in the past about putting a drop basin in with the tile running back to the ravine?
Yeah, I think those are probably two things that go together. One is sort of like to reverse some of the erosion that's already taken place and, fill some of those areas, armor them. And then the other part of it too is whatever drainage from either your cluster of homes and this new home that's going in, make sure that water is getting to that ditch in a manner that's not going to essentially erode it and basically get us further to where we're at today. So I think there's kind of two separate components to the plan, but they do kind of go together.
Okay. I was, because they did remove the trees on that side, so I didn't know if it seems to me that they keep putting the cart before the horse with this whole project. They removed more trees, and I assumed there was a plan in place that you guys were aware of, like an engineering plan of what exactly was going to get done. But I'm kind of just confused by what they're doing there, and it's very close to, it's on my property line, it's affecting my property, and I just kind of wanted an update, that's all.
Yeah, but my understanding is that there's no tree preservation ordinance, so they can remove some trees.
Yeah, that I'm not concerned with.
Yeah.
They can remove whatever trees need be, but they remove the trees as if they're going to start something, and I don't see anything. I'm just very eager to get, I've been coming here for almost 10 years now, trying to address this problem with the second owner of the property now, and just kind of want to know what's going on.
Yeah, I wish I had a better answer for you, but
Okay.
I guess my feedback is just, as part of if they want to do anything there, they're going to need to fix that as part of it, otherwise.
Right, and I understand that, and Tim did explain that to me, and I just wanted to know if they were presented a plan of how they're going to go about fixing it yet.
Yeah, I think that's the part that still needs to be worked out.
So essentially, they're still in the planning process before they haven't presented any engineering. Okay, fair enough, thank you.
Can we add this Muir Street property to update items, please?
That's always been a question.
Kathy Dingler, I'm at 13655 Muir Street. My question is, because the creek runs behind all our homes back there, and this particular property is really eroding into all of that, I'm wondering if the builder does not have to contact the Army Corps of Engineers to deal with the flow of water that's going back there and the amount of water that's going in there. Does he have to present as part of his plan, a consultation with any of them?
So the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers regulates what's called waters of the U.S. So just because it's a ditch that drains water, it might not be a waters of the U.S. I'll be honest, I've never looked at this property. I just know of its kind of sordid history.
I guess my understanding was they had been consulted before when the development was put into play, so perhaps it would be another question to ask.
Yeah, I can certainly look into that, but I guess my short answer is U.S. Army Corps of Engineers might not need to be involved in this if it doesn't meet their criteria for waters or a wetland. So certainly, thank you for that comment, though.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I have a question. Do I need to give mine?
Floor is yours.
Okay. Bob Grosek, 14055 Deodore. I asked to see if we can get a picture of the wetlands from the golf course. Where do they start and where does it end? If you can blow that up, please.
Which, were you looking for a particular area, or just kind of like a zoomed out,
Well, zoomed in more,
on, where are we looking?
where the waterway flows into the lake.
We're talking about this little arm right here?
Correct.
Okay.
Is any of that considered wetlands?
Yeah, essentially this whole, this is probably just taken from the National Wetland Inventory, so the boundary's a little loosey-goosey. So you probably have, waters of the U.S. because this is hydraulically connected to the lake, and that's what the Army Corps regulates. And then around those waters, you probably have wetlands, and that's probably just, that's usually refers to just like that buffer of vegetation around, kind of like where the water likes to sit. This isn't like a super accurate, depiction, because it's from the National Wetland Inventory. It's kind of approximate.
My concern is the water that is currently there now. Let's go with that. The water that's currently in that trough or that ditch from the south end to the north end, that's collecting water, rainwater and disposal water, if you want to call it, from the golf course. Am I correct? Because none of those none of the subdivision there goes into that creek. It would be everything that's in there is from the golf course. Because they have those two culverts that go out there, so I'm thinking that whole subdivision does not flow to there. My concern, I explained to you earlier, were the black tubes going into that water, and then I'm gonna say the quality of the stuff that's in there right now.
Right together,
It was mentioned that when Cedar Lake gets full, or it gets high because of rain, it flows into that basin, supposedly. And I'll use the word supposedly. And when the lake is down, that flows into the lake. How does a butt valve do that?
I'm sorry?
How does a valve do that? I understand if the water's high, the valve's going to open it up and send it down to that creek. When the water's down, how does that valve open this way then? It can't go both ways on the valve.
Is there a valve there, or is it just
I
a
don't know,
culvert?
that's what I was hoping Tim was gonna do.
Oh, I don't think there's any valves of any kind. I think of a valve as kind of like a flap gate or,
And where would
or
that be
some kind of-
located, underneath that roadway going into the
Yeah,
clubhouse?
I think what he was talking about was there's a culvert underneath the road, which
Correct.
is just a pipe. And if the water level of Cedar Lake is down, water's gonna go from the creek into the lake, just because water likes to flow downhill.
And that's a concern I have. I'm gonna be honest, that's a concern I have from the contaminated water from the golf course going into Cedar Lake. Or especially when the water levels are down. Because it's gonna fill up, take what's in there, when the lake goes down, it's gonna flush it all down. And you had just stated, where's it gonna flow? And that's a concern I have.
Where are the contaminants that we're concerned about?
Coming from the golf course,
I guess, are we talking
from
like
groundwater. coming from the-
fertilizer or?
Sure, groundwater.
Fertilizer.
There's tubes
Yeah.
flowing into that creek from the golf course, and it's underneath the top of soil is here, and there's black tubes going in there. So to me, there's runoff or some type of stuff going into that creek, that wetland, whatever you wanna call it, from the golf course when it rains, whether it's drainage or whatever. What's the quality of that water when the lake goes down and goes out? Has that water ever been tested? And I think you addressed that had been tested by the health department, Bob, from the last meeting, you said about
They
14,
test-
15 years ago.
They're supposed to test 11 different places, and I'm told they still do that, and you can contact them, and they will connect you with the website where you can get that information. And when I was a little kid, I would go there and hunt golf balls in that creek.
And you're fine.
That's why he hit them 400 yards, yeah. But that's a concern I have, you know, being a citizen even here, you know, and with my background in that, I just have a concern of that getting out to the lake.
Is this an active golf course?
No,
Not
it's not.
anymore.
Okay.
It was purchased and the golf course was shut down.
And how old is it? How old was it? When was it, in the 20s?
I can't answer that.
So they were putting on chemicals that were not being regulated at the time even, like they are in golf courses today.
I bet
So
you
who knows
it's
what's in there?
Maybe the 40s, I'm not 40s.
So who knows what's on there?
Sure, yeah.
That's all I have. I didn't know how you want to work with this. And is that valve, whatever, underneath the, I went and looked at that culvert that's underneath the road going to the clubhouse. Has it ever been cleaned? Has it ever been checked? I don't know. I can't see where it can be. Pardon?
1928.
Oh my gosh. So there you go.
It was, the golf course was 1928?
Yeah,
Right.
that's what it was established.
And the bridge that I know the culvert they just replaced, that, where that goes underneath the road,
Is this
the bridges there, the white little bridge things, when they were doing it, I stopped by there and that bridge said 1930. That's what was stamped in there, so it's that's old. So that's a concern I have of what was on that. In that golf course, the chemicals leaching out of that possibly into that drainage ditch or call it, whatever you want to call it, wetlands, because at this point, we don't know what it is, correct? We don't know if we want to call it a wetland, a ditch, or what,
Oh, it's definitely a wetland.
okay? So there you go. How do we proceed? Do we call the health department and see if they've been testing that? You want me to call? I have no problem. If you know somebody to call over there.
I don't know, I used to know a guy
Okay,
that lived here in Cedar Lake, and he used to give me those reports each week, but after he retired, I've never seen the reports.
would that be in the courthouse, the Lake County courthouse?
It'd be Lake County Health Department in Crown Point there by the courthouse.
Got it.
I think it's on like the basement level.
So just call up there and see if they're monitoring
think that they're-
any of the points in Cedar Lake and find out what that
Just
is.
ask them what you'd like to know, how you can obtain the lake testing for Cedar Lake.
Okay. I'm specifically going on that one,
Yeah.
because I'm sure the lake isn't bad, but my concern is that water flowing out of there.
I know they tested for E. coli.
The lake is, or that?
There's different monitors that are at 142nd and Silver Street, Pinecrest Marina, Town Complex, and South Shore Improvement Association Beach. And it looks like they're testing it on a weekly basis.
The beach or
They used to do it every Thursday, so
So it looks like they're doing a weekly test, and, they're testing for E. coli.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay.
So you don't know what you don't know.
As I call it.
it's to determine if the lake is safe enough
Correct.
for people to swim.
But E. coli,
But just for E. coli.
Just a quiet.
that's it. What other chemicals?
I'm not sure how they'd even be testing our beach because we're locked. Unless they do it from the water and not from the street.
That's what he's concerned about, and I understand it. We're testing at 5 spots around the lake every Thursday, right?
Supposedly.
And they used to walk into our park and test it, which was great, but now we've got a fence all around it, so exactly where they're testing it, it's right where the water's flowing back out of there, so it fills up, turns green, you can walk on it today. And when that flows back into the lake, it's not gonna.
My concern coming from that wetland is not E. coli. It's all the other chemicals that were used. They didn't treat maybe if you want to call it with E. coli.
So it may still pass even though it's.
Correct. It'll leach out of there.
And you probably remember there was some higher than normal results back in 2022.
When they did ground testing?
Now this is just straight for E. coli.
Oh, okay.
You may want to also contact the DNR, because the state owns the lake, we
No,
don't.
and I understand that, don't get me wrong. But we are responsible for anything that goes into the lake, correct?
I can't answer that.
I'll check, if I check.
What we can do is that the health department will run and inspect them on testing. That's the only thing we really can do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, if they'll do that.
Right.
They might say, no, it's not, this is the only thing we're required to test for, so.
Right. So, that's.
That's the kicker. I mean, you can ask, you can request it.
Sure, I'll ask and see
See if they'll run their.
The DNR will be at a chamber luncheon on the second Tuesday in August. I don't know what the location is yet, but they deal in the lake, and maybe if you attend that luncheon, it's open to the public.
You said that is a wetland?
Mm-hmm.
What?
The
DNR.
No, I was saying that's a wetland.
Yeah, this thing is.
So if it is, then that means we can talk to.
But they're not testing for anything but E. coli.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying, what I'm
So they
saying
get,
is
that's what
Any
they
heavy
get
metals?
for.
You don't know if there's any heavy metals around.
Army Corps might be able to help with that. If it's theirs, then they might be more apt to put a little bit more money into that versus the health department.
So who looks into that? Do we do it as a board, or does the engineer?
Luke, would you have any of the testing that was done when they did the dredging?
Yeah, we have that.
That wouldn't
I don't know
Well, that-
how helpful that'll be to this.
That'll tell you what they tested when they started dredging, but,
That has nothing to do with this.
I have that, Bob,
oh,
an
you,
email from Don. That was the sediment that was stretched.
Do you have a contact with the Army Corps, Luke?
Yeah, we have lots of them. Yeah.
Can you email us the contacts?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's where we start.
That's
I
right,
mean,
right?
yeah, we just submit an email to them and say, hey,
I'd like to keep this on the active agenda as we move forward too, just to make sure we're addressing this each meeting to see. Yeah. So you can keep the people informed here too. That's all I have.
Good deal.
Good evening, Terry Broaders, 2123 Arthur Avenue, Lockport, Illinois, representing my property that's directly across the street from the golf course. I just had a couple questions on, as we were looking at the property and talking about the culverts that go, underneath the entrance to the clubhouse. My questions are, and I think this is something you guys will want to find out, the gate, they have a gate blocking off the entrances, but they're claiming it's private, and the culverts are inside that. And I'm wondering, are they responsible for those culverts? But I also have been told that front street has a plumbing pipe underneath it, which means, is that an easement in the front of that property? And are they even allowed to block it off from that point? And, I mean, so there's a couple things that come about here right now. If it's on private property, then should we be spending public money on it, or just enforcing what should be done? And then, of course, the river or creek, partial wetlands is also on private property. I mean, enforcement's important. We definitely want to know what's going in the lake, but how much of it is the responsibility of the residents versus the responsibility of owners? That's all I have. But one thing I think you guys want to find out is what exactly is the property lines or easements adjacent to the lake from the clubhouse. I've been told a few different things by a few different people, so I think that might be something you might want to investigate.
Start at the arch or start before that?
Thank you. Have a good day.
Are you talking about the property that goes into the golf course?
I'm talking about, yes, the driveway that enters into the golf
That
course.
was vacated when Johnny Hayes owned the golf course.
So the road, that
It is
easement
not
has been
Lakeshore Drive
vacated.
anymore.
So do they own the culverts too then?
I don't know.
That's what we're trying to figure out.
That's a good place to start.
But the kicker for that is we're still responsible for whatever we dump into that. So if it is coming from,
Well, the storm board is responsible for enforcing him dumping it in, right? I mean,
Well-
how are you guys gonna clean it up?
well, that's a question that we'd have to get with the Army Corps on. Like
That's
what,
my point. I mean, I can't imagine that you put that tax on the residents to clean up somebody else's property. And I get the fact that your guys' jurisdiction is saying that water needs to be healthy, and I agree 100%, but I do. But again, doing a phase 1 and phase 3 study alone is gonna be hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? And then if there's anything needs to be removed, we're talking, you know what that kind of
it's a
money
capital
costs.
project
So
at that point.
I would just hope that we make sure we go slow and make sure we cross the Ts and dot the Is. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob, for that.
Anyone else?
That's good information.
Okay, without further ado, see you next month.